In this episode, we are going to talk about Allan Litchman. We are going to talk about Allan Litchman. He is a professor in an American university. He is the only person who has predicted presidential elections, the last 10 presidential elections. He has predicted, everybody agrees that he predicted correctly 9 out of 10. But if you follow his interpretation, it means that he predicted all the 10 correctly. Now, the 10th prediction that he made that is contentious, I'll come to interpret it, and the way I'll interpret, I don't want to start it now for the simple reason that you'll find when I have finished telling you. That is why you'll understand why the 10th, the one prediction, 1 out of 10, people disagree. There are some people who believe that he failed in his prediction, and majority feel that he failed. But a few feel that he got it. And it is also very relevant to these very US elections. Kindly remember that when I opened this YouTube channel, I started off by explaining the various constitutions. I started with the American, then went to Westminster, the French, and so on and so on. So I'd request you, when you have time, to check on, I think it was 1, 2, and 3. The first three recordings on this YouTube. It has to do with the American, it has to do with the American Constitution. So you'll understand a lot, especially if you are not an American, or if you have not stayed there, or if you have not studied the way I have studied. Next time you'll know more than even what I do. Now let us start with 1984. He predicted, if you count all the presidential elections in America, you know America, at the federal level, they have three types of elections. The presidential election takes 4 years. The Senate election takes 6 years. And the member of the Congress takes 2 years. So in this case, we are now talking about presidential. So since 1984 to the year 2000, we have had 10 presidential elections. And each and every one, he has predicted correctly. It was around 1979, the year that I was doing my Form 4. It is that year that he sat down and recorded all. You remember those days, there was no computer, programming or anything. Those days it was just manual and spending a long time reasoning with figures. He looked at the American election since when it started, when there were only 13 states. That is when he started looking at it. He recorded it, and those days, even the two leading parties were nowhere to be seen. Either they were not in existence, or they were not known those days. But he looked at it and recorded and tried to look ABCD, and he saw the voting patterns of the Americans since 1800. So that is how he came up, and he came up with a list of 13 things. Now this 13th thing, most of them are countering. For example, question number 5, it can talk about the party that is in the White House. And that is question number 5. The next question would be the party outside the White House. So he would ask himself questions such that, for example, I just want to give a little example. For example, he could talk about depression. Now, if we have a depression, financial depression, that is, during the regime of a certain party in let's say this party, let us say Republican, is in the White House, and then there is a major depression, he predicts that that one will work against the incumbent. He also expressed about big wars like Vietnam and so on and so on. If these things happen during a certain presidency, when they go for the presidential election, that president will not make it. He also looked at the issue of midterm elections. I said that the presidential elections in America goes for 4 years, and the senatorial election goes for 6 years, and the Congress goes for 2 years. Now, when the president is in the White House, they call it midterm. When the president has completed 2 years, there is an election for 2 types. There is an election for 33 senators, and there is an election for all members of the Congress. Now, if the party that is ruling, be it Republican or Democrat, if there is a midterm election and that party loses, then it goes to what? It means that the next election, the president would lose. But if the ruling party wins midterm, so it is several things. They go up to 13 points. And out of the 13 points, if the party that has the president, if the president's party wins 6 out of the 13 points, then he says that that party will win. That party, the presidential candidate will win. And I told you that he started that system in the elections of 1984. But before that, immediately after the midterm election of 1982, he started ticking off the 13 points. And he predicted that the president who was in power would lose the elections. So he has been doing that successfully over and over again. Now comes to the point, before I come to the point of the one in dispute, because he has correctly predicted 9, but one of them, it follows the interpretation of whoever is interpreting. There are those like me who interpret that he failed, but him and a few others believe that he predicted well. Before I go to that, I want to say that he has predicted that Kamala Harris will be in the White House come next election. She will win. That is what he has predicted. And you'll see from the way that I've kept this point to the last is because if you look at the way he interpreted the last election, no, not the last election, the failed election, then you'll come to understand that even though he himself has pronounced that she will win, but then let us look at the way he interpreted that. That was 2016. 2016, he predicted that Hillary Clinton, would win the elections. And in the 2016, Hillary Clinton did not occupy White House. But she won, Trump won the delegates. Trump won the delegates, but Hillary Clinton won the popular votes. So he has been insisting that all the time he has been meaning the popular votes. But if you look at the American system, you'd be very lucky if you found 3 elections where a candidate wins the popular votes but loses the delegates. And where you win the popular votes and I win the delegates, then I become the president. So in all the utachimba kabisa ndio upate any other election where the losing candidate had won the popular elections. If we were to use the Kenyan system, where every vote counts, you'd find that in 2016, Hillary Clinton would have won the presidency. But American system, and I have told you that you should go to my first 3, is it 2 or 3? The first 2 recordings on this channel where I had talked about the American constitution, how delegates are chosen. Each state is given a number of delegates. It is equivalent to the number of MPs they have, both in the Senate and in the Congress. So that is what determines how many delegates each, I was about to say province, each state has. So if you win by even 1 vote in a state, you take all the delegates. But then we have 2 states. One is Maine. I don't know where the other one is, but one is called Maine. Maine, they decided that each constituency, in Kenya we call them constituency, but in America they call it Congress district. Congress district is the constituency which a member of the Congress represents. Now in the state of Maine, each constituency, let me use that word, although it is called Congress district, votes on its own. Maine has three counties. So you find, in many cases you find one candidate, okay, let's say in many of them, rarely would you find Maine winning somebody taking all the 3 Congress seats, but it is possible. But in many cases you find one candidate wins 2 Congress seats and the other candidate wins 1 Congress seat. There are 2, I'm not sure if it is 3, but I'm sure of 2 states that they divide the delegates. But in all others, you win even by 1 vote, you take all the delegates. I've explained that. Please, if you have time, you can check that. So what I'm saying that if you find that way, you may find that a very, very rare occasion, like what happened in 2016, whereby if you are to count each and every ballot the way Kenyans count, you would find that Mrs. Hillary Clinton won Hillary Clinton won what we call popular votes, but Trump won the delegates. And according to Allan Litchman, he says that his prediction was based on popular votes. So he's saying he was not wrong. Why am I saying so? I'm saying so because if you look at this election now, he has predicted that Kamala, you see, I have to use the Isuha name, Kamala Harris will occupy the White House. But on paper, and it has happened to Hillary Clinton, is that it is possible for Kamala Harris to win the popular, but Trump to win the delegates. That is, and if you ask me, I would prefer Mkhadimwisuha Kamala Harris to win. That is my hope and belief. That is where I place my bet. The other thing I wanted to say is that all opinion polls to date have given Kamala a 5-point lead. And the day before, just the day before I aired this, Trump was interviewed. Yes, Trump was interviewed and he was asked if he again, you know, people are now used to. Trump was on paper, on the ballot paper for the Republican Party in 2016. Trump again was on the ballot paper for Republican Party 2020. Trump is on the ballot paper Republican Party 2024. So people, he was asked directly, are we expecting again Trump to be on the paper on 2028? In Kenya, our Trump was taken to Addis Ababa. Now, Trump answered, the American Trump, not the Kenyan Trump. You know, they have another thing in common, because the American Trump believes that when he loses an election, it is stolen. The same with the Kenyan Trump. But the American Trump said, and I'll quote, yesterday, the day before I aired this, he said that under whatever circumstances, his name will not appear on the ballot paper in the 2020. Sorry. I'll repeat myself. He said that under whatever circumstances, his name will not appear on the ballot paper in the 2028. Now, this is the thing. If he wins, he will have served the second term, so he cannot appear there. But what he was telling people is that if he loses, he will not come again and contest. He said he will not come again and contest. Although he put there a sentence and said that we are now careful that this time they will not steal our elections. I want to say this, that Kenyans complain at the computer servers ndio ziliharibu kura. Have you seen that this professor, Allan Litchman, had come up with a calculation that came up and it can predict who is going to win even before people start voting? Have you seen that? So we have to agree that elections are that way, and we have to accept and move on. Ladies and gentlemen, keep watching for more as time comes on, because even in America, I'll add this because I had forgotten, you find that Peninsula, it has 15 delegates. You see, they keep on changing every time. You can find that this time they have 15 delegates, the next time they have 16. What happens is that in Kenya, every 10 years, we have a census, and then we add the number of constituencies. We have never even retained it. Every 10 years, we are guaranteed of having at least 10 more constituencies. In America, members of parliament, the number is static. For example, each and every state has 2 senators. And as per constituencies, they call them congressional district. Now, in every congressional district, they make changes each and every year, every 10 years. After 10 years, they calculate. And if you come from a state that has more people, you'll find that this time you have 15 delegates. Next time you have 16. and so on and so forth. So they keep on changing. They retain the same number, but each state has a change in either a plus or minus in each and every presidential, each and every time there is a boundary review. So that is how it is. I was talking of Pennsylvania. I want to look at two states. I want to look at two states. First of all, I want to look at North Carolina. North Carolina, the candidate for Republican, an African, a Negro, has messed up, and that may even cost the Republican votes there. It has he's so close to Trump because he talks loose talks like Trump, but things have turned out so bad that he was found communicating in a pornographic group that even Trump has now. But you see him doing that. Of course, it is obvious that North Carolina, the Democratic candidate for governor, will take it. But the question is, would the damage of this African or fellow Negro be so bad that it will affect the chances of the Republican getting delegates in North Carolina? It is possible. It is as of now, Trump is leading, but between today and election day, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But then I want to say, Mluya anasemaga last point, or a politician. Wacha niseme ya mwisho, lastly. But then when I want to lastly say this, watch for Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is called the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Why is it called the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? The 13 states, when they started the USA, there were some states which did not want anything to do with America. But there are those who wanted to be independent, part of the United States, but they wanted also to be part of the Commonwealth. Like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and others are parts of Commonwealth. They also thought of such a thing long time ago. So you'll find that the correct terminology for the state of Pennsylvania is the Commonwealth State of Pennsylvania. If you look at the last 20 or so elections, Pennsylvania has always been voting for the winning candidate. As we speak now, I almost called her Hillary Clinton. As we speak now, Kamala Harris is winning by a very short margin. But the short margin is within the era of margin. But it has always been, whoever wins that state wins the White House. So let us keep watching. Ladies and gentlemen, sio Kenya peke yake najua mambo yao, najua mambo ya nchi nyingi. You can watch about, you can go to the ones I started with, the constitution of various countries. But today, since Americans are about to have elections, maybe you concentrate on that. Later on, you can concentrate on Westminster and even French type of democracy. Thank you.